Welcome back to Six-Sided. Hit that like button, get yourselves subscribing. Some big talking points tonight as we gear up for the return of the English Premier League. Got some big debates as well in relation to Odegaard, Jurrien Timber. We're talking Wayne Rooney and Harry Kane ahead of England's game tomorrow, plus a big talking point regarding the biggest game in world club football, Manchester United versus Liverpool, the biggest derby, the biggest game. More eyes on it than any other match in the world. I'm very, very excited indeed. And I'm sure at least half this panel is going to be, well, 2/3 of this panel is going to be a Man United fan on Sunday afternoon. That's for sure. But listen, hit the like button for us. Get yourself subscribing. Make sure the bell notification button is turned. In fairness,
100% of this panel be Man United fan.
Luke probably wants no.
Liverpool 8-0, please.
I love it. As I say, loads to go through and loads to talk about today. So we are going to jump straight into it here with the first fiction or fact question. And it's this. Well, where do we go? We're going to start with an easy one. With 6 goals in his last 4 games, Man United sold Rasmus Højlund too quickly. What are you saying, Anton?
I think that different players work for different systems. I would say fiction. I just think that Rasmus Højlund and Manchester United was not a match. It's like, when people date, you can the same woman can date different men and have a different impression on them as another woman who would date the same man, if that would make sense. Like, just sometimes. Yeah, it's not necessarily a perfect match. And I think that's the case with a lot of Manchester United players, especially the ones who've come in and come out. I also just think that Man United's, I think I've said this many times, the environment at Manchester United right now is just not a very positive one in order for a footballer to be able to grow. And yeah, I just think at Napoli, just like Scott McTominay at Napoli as well, was given, a lot more of trust from the manager, and a lot like he feels a lot more free. It's like a big burden, relief from your shoulders. There's a lot less pressure to play at Napoli as well. So, you come to play at Manchester United, and not talking about you, Terry, but many of the Manchester United fans can come raining down on you if you have even the smallest of dry spells in front of goal as a striker. So. Yeah, I think it's fiction. I just think that it was best for both to part ways, and that's why Rasmus Højlund is probably playing better at Napoli.
What are you saying, Luke? Do you think United were maybe a little premature? There's quite a lot of United fans now saying, it would have been good to have him as an option, as backup. He's proven that he can score goals. How do you view it?
Well, for me, it's kind of fiction as well, because I think in Serie A, it's got De Bruyne, which, you have one of the best creators in the world. No matter how old Kevin De Bruyne is, you can find anyone on the football pitch. So it is helped having better, different players, obviously. You have to kind of take that into account when discussing that. But also, I think that United's creativity as well didn't help him either. But then I don't think he didn't help himself either. Like, both sides are kind of at fault for it. I think when you look at his finishing, United, it was terrible. Like, it was like 20 plus goals in 2 years. But if you look at what he probably should have done better in a lot of games that he played, I just think it was probably better for his career to move on somewhere else. I know he's on loan right now, but I just think with Sesko, obviously, and you've got Xerxes right now as well. I think Sesko, I'm not sure he's a better player per se than Højlund. I'm not sure what that would probably be. But I think the way things panned out, I think it's probably better for both sides that he moves on. For me, yeah.
What are you saying, Seb?
I think you saw what his stats were like in Serie A before, so we knew he was going to work over there. Antonio Conte is one of the best managers in the world for getting the best out of players, and I think De Bruyne summed up perfectly after his pre-match in the Champions League, where he just wants to run into space. As long as he's playing his head forwards, De Bruyne can knock those balls into the spaces for him, and he's going to thrive because his finishing's always good. He's always been around his XG anyway. He just didn't get a lot of service at Manchester United at all, but you felt like he was always playing back to goal. At United, he was always trying to get into play. I don't know if that was up to a manager's decision, but some players just don't fit the physicality of the league either. We knew he was good in Serie A. He's gone to probably the best club in Serie A right now. Conte's a world-class manager. Yes, I can hear the point of he could have been a good impact substitute. But you have so much depth up front, Manchester United. I don't think he would get much minutes. Like Xerxes is barely getting any minutes at the moment. So I think he's just in the best position for himself and he's thriving. I think he's just far better in Serie A. And I think he should stay there permanently. I don't think the relationship is working. People do forget that he did have quite a good... There was a batch in that first season where he did score. I can't remember how many games in a row he scored. But once his confidence is up, he's thriving on that confidence he's got right now. And he's just getting the service he needs. He's just given the freedom of where, because of the system they play, they can sit back and counter, get in that mid-block, and he can just run straight into space. So he's thriving on it right now. But yeah, I think it's very quick hindsight about 8 games into Serie A season just to go, oh, Man United's made a mistake. It's another thing that people can pick on United for. Oh, look, he hasn't worked. Because there's a rhetoric right now of players leave, they get better. But let's be honest, Scott McTominay needed to leave. He's doing well. He's just in a system that he's thriving and it just wasn't working out, United.
Yeah.
Couldn't an argument also be made, Terry, by the way, is that when you switch managers in the middle of last season, that it doesn't necessarily work for some, like, because some players might be in favor of one manager, the other one comes in, and all of a sudden the system is different for him. It doesn't necessarily work. The coach might not value him as much as the previous coach. So that's why I think, for instance, I guess you'll have it on a different topic, but that's why I think, for instance, that maybe sacking Amorim very quickly might also not work well for some of the players you decide as well, like a Benjamin Sesko, like Mbeumo and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
Terry-
Terry might frozen.
No.
But yeah, I
What do
think
you
I
think,
agree
Terry?
with you on that one. I think it's especially when he was thriving under Ten Hag. Ten Hag played a completely different system to Amorim. He's such a young player as well, so the goal scoring burden that was put on him when he came in, especially with the big price tag, which he can't help, and just the spotlight at United, they needed someone experienced, especially because they went from signing players like Igalo, the Cavani's, the Ibrahimoviches, to someone of his profile. I don't think helped at all. But it's so easy to say when you have hindsight that you can go like that. But I don't think United's problem has been that badly up front. It's not really been their issue this season, really. It's been more in the transition and midfield areas, the defender stepping out, because they're creating a lot of XG. So I don't think they would have necessarily... It's not like keeping him there, United would be a lot further up the table. They've actually done reasonably well with the start they've had. So for people to now sit here and go, well, he'd have come in and done this, I don't think is that much of a difference, even if you did keep him. So I don't...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think, to be honest, you bought Benjamin Sesko before you sold Højlund anyway. So if anything, you just have more options in the striker position. But I don't know if Højlund would be firing the way he is now at Napoli, though. That's the only difference.
Yeah. Also, it's Odegaard as well. Sorry, Odegaard.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Pete. So my computer just restarted itself just like that, random. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think on your point around sacking managers, I feel this is why, again, I'm not against the idea per se of Ruben going. What I'm against the idea of is changing direction. What I'm against the idea of is a new manager that has a completely different outlook. And we've done that. Look at what's going on now at Nottingham Forest as an example. So again, when people think I'm defending managers, that's because their IQ is really low. And I can't help other people's IQ. I'm not...
Oh, no.
Oh, again.
Computer stinkering up, mate, tonight.
And on with this. Sorry, am I back? Am I back? I don't even know what's going on right now. Am I computer? You know what's mad?
Now.
Am I back? So I have no idea what's going on with my computer. It's really playing up. Sorry. Where did I get up to?
And sacking managers and whatnot, not being right.
Yeah. So look, I think from my point of view, I can't help. Whenever I talk about this, it often gets reframed by low IQ people as stop defending managers. It's not about defending managers. I'm not averse to them being sacked. I worry about who we're going to appoint. What Man United have done on a regular basis over the past 10 years is what you've seen in a small chasm at Nottingham Forest in the last 5 months. where you've gone from a pragmatist to an out-and-out attacking manager, and now they're probably going to go back to a pragmatist again. Who knows what happens if Sean Dyche fouls? If you do that too regularly, a club the size of Forest with the money they have, they'll get relegated. You'll damage yourself. Man United have too much money to get relegated, in my view, in the modern day game. But it's never been about sacking managers. It's always been, I don't trust my ownership. I don't trust my board to appoint someone that can pick up from where the previous guy finished and take that project forward. It's always right, guys. We're trying to get from A to Z. We're currently at M. It's gone a bit wrong. So what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way back to A, and then we're going to find a new route to get to Z. So we're always kind of going back to the beginning again. And that's more what I fear. And when it comes to the Rasmus conversation, that's what happened. We were doing something under Ten Hag that wasn't working. We then gave him an extra summer when we never should have done, and went, right, we're going to change the complete and utter direction with Amorim. It didn't work for him. Do I think we were wrong to get rid of him? No, I don't think he'd be scoring these goals if he was still at United. I absolutely think that he'd still be low on confidence. As an example, I think we did the absolute right thing moving him on. What I am finding interesting now is the Amorim outers. These are the people that just think Amorim's the issue. They're now starting to really defend Rasmus. But again, this is why I think sometimes don't just take people on the opinion they're giving in that moment. Look at the wider body of work of their opinions to see whether you want to stand shoulder to shoulder with them on a footballing stance, because most of these guys were the ones telling us last year when these guys were back, when these Amorim outers were back in Amorim, it was players like Rasmus that were the reason we weren't winning enough games. And once he's gone and somebody else comes in, we'll be better. Now they're out here telling everyone that he was really a decent player and that we should have stood by him. And I'm like, well, you were one of the voices that didn't have the patience, and what you were asking for didn't work. Yet you're still out here trying to preach to everybody like you're right about everything. And that's my bugbear in this debate. We were right to move him on. I don't think he'd be doing this for club or country if he was at Man United. This is just another stick to beat our club with. And as much as I'm angry at Man United, as much as I'll criticize us where I need to, this stuff to me is just bullshit.
Well, the thing is, what I would say to all of them is, if you did keep him, where are United now? Do you magically think you're suddenly title challengers? How far up the table? What points difference is there actually from keeping him? Because I just don't see you're not any better off.
I don't think there's any points difference.
Probably
No.
not. 0 point difference, probably.
No, I mean, I don't think we'd be. I mean, the games that we have not won this year, it wasn't that. I mean, you could argue if he was here and fully fit, and we started with a number 9 against Arsenal, we might have won. Maybe if we started with if a number 9 was fit for the Fulham game, we might have won because we were quite good at periods in those games. Outside of that, I mean, would he have done better than Šeško done for us? No. I mean, Šeško's hold-up play has been better than we saw from Rasmus for the whole of last season. He scored 2 goals in his first 2 starts for the football club. And Europe, he scored quite a lot of goals for us, Rasmus. He was very good. I think he got 5-6 Champions League goals year 1, 4 or 5 in the Europa League the following year. But in the league, I think it was 3 or 4 goals last season. He did score 7 on the bounce in the early part of 2024. But he did go like 4 months without scoring a goal in the league. So do I think it would have been hugely different if he'd have stayed? Absolutely not. So I think, as one of you alluded to, I'm not too sure which, this is more of just a stick to beat Man United with than it is a real talking point. It's just right. What negativity can we write today to wind up Man United fans? The one thing I will say is, again, you've got to also look at who's saying this stuff. The people pushing these narratives are the same people that would create the article saying the Rasmuses and the Rashfords and the Garnachos and the McTominays, they're the problem. Move them on and Man United get better. And they were wrong about that as well. And it's always the same suspects. The people that are pushing the negativity are always the ones who created the negativity about the prodigal sons that got away. It's the same people creating all these stories. And I sit there looking from a side going, who is listening to these idiots still? It strikes me as strange.
Well, that's the irony in this whole thing. I know. I guess it's becoming more about Amorim than about Højlund, but it's kind of that cycle that keeps going on. So you have all these players that were bought from different managers, kind of put together, and some of them just hang around for a long time. It's like, some people have been hired by one boss, and then the other boss leaves. And then you got the new boss who comes in, and and then he hires people, and then he leaves, and then all of a sudden, all of these players aren't necessarily the preference of the regional boss, and they go out of form, and it's just like you're recycling those issues, and you're making it even worse at the bottom end. So for instance, Mbumo, Cunha, Sesko. Let's say Amorim leaves, and then a different manager comes in. They don't like those players either. So you just bought all these players that your new manager doesn't like, and now you're continuing to have the same issue.
Also, Luke Shaw's still there, like 11 years pretty much now of being there. But he's back in 2014. But it's like there's so many players from different eras of managers. It's like at this point, it's like what is actually a squad anymore? It's just a multitude of different players.
That's why you need to put your faith in one manager. Blow up the entire project. Start from zero. Build up an entire squad of players that are all working towards the same goal. They all have that's what's really going to, at least on the football pitch, will help.
And that's the one thing I would say to the people that want Amorim gone. What my hope is actually the cultural and squad rebuild has actually been a lot better than we think. We're just not noticing the fruits of that labor because the coaching hasn't been good enough. So I really do hope that they're right. The problem is that isn't what the Amorim outers are saying. They're saying Ineos are crap, we're run poorly, the culture's crap, the squad ain't very good. Let's get the manager and let's improve. And I sit there and I almost feel like, well, if all the components behind the manager has to either coach or are behind and supporting him are bad, you might be right, the manager's got to go. That element might be right, but the energy for it and this excitement about the idea of doing it, I haven't got any. If I'm going to believe you, I would be a lot more trusting in someone's opinion if they said, I think the squad's actually quite good. I love the way we're being run. I think we're getting rid of the bad culture. We've just got a really bad coach. No one's sort of saying that. It's everything's crap, but let's sack the manager and hopefully we get better. I sit there and just feel like that's like laying on your back in the wind, taking a piss and not expecting to get any in your face. That's sort of how I feel. And I just don't want to participate in that activity. I'm not a fan.
I know I don't want to get too much into politics, Terry, but I've got a really good analogy for this in recent history in politics. When in the middle of 2020, during COVID, and when Joe Biden got elected, for example, everyone expected Joe Biden to fix all of America's problems, COVID, everything like that, within the space of a month. When you threw him in there in the middle of COVID. That's sort of what feel like what's happened with Ineos, is that everyone's expecting them to turn it around so quickly when there is a pandemic. I don't exactly know the words I'm saying, but
you are right. There is a pandemic. In the grand scheme of things in football, obviously it powers into insignificance to a world pandemic. But in our world, there is a colossal issue, and it isn't just something that's happened. It's been getting progressively worse for 13 years. And this is where I get really weirded out by Man United fans when they talk about why are we still speaking about the history? Why are we still speaking about the past managers and nothing to do on the past squads, nothing to do with this team? It's like, bro, do you know nothing about life? That history repeats itself. You've got to look to the past for the mistakes. And the way I do it is this. I'm looking at the past mistakes, and then I'm reviewing how we're assessing things and hiring and sacking and recruiting now to see whether we're making a difference. Because if we're doing the same things wrong, that's when I look at it and go, well, I've got zero hope now. Zero. Again, if we change direction, for instance, new manager sees the world of football different. He's going to want brand new players. Some of the new guys are not going to want. He's not going to want. If I see that straight away, I'm like, well, I'll cheer wins. I'll be annoyed at defeats, but I'm not sitting here having any faith whatsoever. But viewers, give us your thoughts. Give us your opinions, please, people. Hit those like and those share buttons for us as well. Terry, do you want Rashford back at United if he keeps scoring? No. I think Rashford's doing well at Barca. He's doing well at Barca because he's got a new lease of life and he's happy there, and he's it's really funny because I read a quote the other day. It turns out the quote isn't real, but it was such a good fake quote, it should be real. And it supposedly was Ryan Giggs saying that when Rashford was playing at United, he wasn't putting the effort in, like he was too comfortable. But now that he's at Barca, he's running like the rent's due. For me, there's an element of truth in that. And there's an expression that a change is as good as a rest. And I think that Rashford feels rejuvenated at a new club. He came back to Man United, old habits would die hard. And I love Rashford. I hope he does fantastically well away from United. I cheer for him in an England shirt. I've got no animosity towards him. But I think the worst thing for him and us would be to come back to Manchester United. And in this particular instance, I'll use this very, very important analogy or phrase, really, more than an analogy. An X is an X for a reason. Let's come on to the next question, people. Let's go to this next one. It's still United related, but it goes into the game this weekend. And I'm going to go to Luke first on this one. But fiction or fact, Ruben Amorim will be sacked if Liverpool beat Manchester United on Sunday, no matter what Sir Jim Ratcliffe says publicly.
I'm going to go fiction because I'm going to be real here. Like, unless the result is like 7-0 again, I don't think this game should be an indicator of where United really are right now. Like, and also, I'm going to say it as it is. If you sack him at this point, you bring a manager in, there's going to be another changeover again. So that's another season. You have to think, right, okay, I just have to get through this year. And another summer of getting players through the door. I get, like, if results aren't there, I understand that, obviously, it's fair enough. But at what point do you say, we've got to just hold out at some point? Because I get the whole idea of sharp managers and keep sacking them and eventually it'll work out. But at what point do you say, maybe we need a little bit of time and a bit of patience with the fan base to say, we're not as good as I think we are right now. We will get there at some point. Humble yourselves. Remember that. Like, I'll say it is, the City fan base is like it as well with Pep. Last season was shit. We get that. But when you start going crazy and thinking that, we sack him, we get someone else in, it'll get better. The reason why fans aren't in the boardroom, because fans are reactionary. And I am. We all are on this panel. We're all fans of our clubs. There's a reason why we're not in the boardroom and making these decisions. I'm not saying Amorim's a shit manager or a great manager. I think he needs time with these new players that he's got. I think at least a season or two to get the squad going. I get people want to hear that, but at the end of the day, standards FC for me. I get the idea of having standards of your football club. I appreciate that, but if you're coming from somewhere you're not as good as you used to be, you want to get back to that level again. You've got to understand that the journey of getting there is important. So I think for me, United will actually be foolish to sack Amorim this weekend after losing to Liverpool. I get people won't want to hear that, but if you want to get back to where you were again, sometimes you've got to start somewhere. So yeah, that's my thoughts anyway.
What are you saying, Seb? If Liverpool were to hand a bit of a beating to Man United, do you think this could be the end of Ruben?
I think for some fans it may be if you get absolutely battered, but I don't feel like losing to a Liverpool team is a game where you get sacked, because I don't think particularly a lot of people are expecting you to win that game. So to sack someone off the back of a game that you're not expected to win, the other team are better than you. A game where you're sackable is if you lose, is like the Grimsby game, for example, where you should be winning that game, and that's an absolute embarrassment that you do lose that game. But losing to Liverpool is not the end of the world. I'll be honest. I think Man United might get a result just because of the poor form Liverpool are in at the moment, and our clear holes within Liverpool that Man United can exploit, especially if they employ a bit more of a high press, especially because Man United are going to start with three forwards. So Konate and Van Dijk have struggled with that already this season. But I don't think it's sackable. I think it needs to be a run of games and a run of losses if he's going to get sacked, especially because you're coming off, I think you've just won your last 2 or 3 games. So he's got a bit of grace at the moment. So unless he loses like 5-6 on the bounce, for example, maybe he'll be in trouble. But I think the United board are backing him. I think this is their man. They poached him mid-season. I don't think they are going to sack him. They spent a lot of money on that squad in the summer. So, and it's not even all pieced there. You're hearing today that Adam Wharton might be coming in, or someone like a Baleba. So I think if you had signed a midfielder and a defender, so you had a better overall squad, but I think it would be extremely harsh to sack him after that, especially as you're coming into a decent bit of form and you're creating XG. Everywhere on the pitch, the underlying stats, even visually, even if you're an eye test merchant, Man United have improved in all areas this year. So there is an upward trajectory. It's not like last season where it's stagnant. Your underlying XG conceded is better. Your XG scoring goals is far better. You're retaining more of the ball. So to sack him after losing to Liverpool, who are 1 point off the top of the league, would be absolutely absurd. honestly.
You're a stat man, Anton. I do see you in the group chat a lot. I need to call you out a little bit. I see you siding. I see you siding with the Amorim outers a lot in terms of they're right. They've got to have high standards. They're right. He's got to go. There's kind of no defending it. Are you doing that because you're goading these guys into saying things that aren't true? The reason I say that is because you are a stat man, and if you're a stat man, it'd be very intellectually dishonest of you to ignore a lot of the really good. Yes, criticize the bad metrics. I do. But it'd be very disingenuous to just go, yeah, it's all bad and ignore the good things, considering you are a big stat man.
Game recognized game, Terry. So I guess you understand my what I'm trying to accomplish there when I go David on.
I don't necessarily look at it and go, oh, he's winding him up here like a jack in a box. That's how I view it personally. Yeah,
that's exactly what I'm doing. But damn it. But what I would say on just the question overall, whoever was the original source of this question, which obviously you've taken it from somewhere, is just the overall. What I would say is that if you actually want to win this game against Liverpool, putting pressure on the manager is probably the worst avenue to go down. What I would say is that if you want a good result against a Liverpool, I would say this is a free hit for Manchester United. That's the sort of mentality that you should take. It's like the pressure is on Liverpool. Liverpool is a team with the title aspirations. Liverpool is a team that's lost 3 in a row. You guys have nothing. You guys should have no. You go away to Anfield. You have no expectations whatsoever. To put this game, the manager's job on the line for this game, is conducive to, probably losing, because you've framed it in completely the wrong way. And
do you know what's really funny? Sorry to interject. There is so much truth in this. We've got this kind of really big focus by football fans in general now on standards. Have the highest standards and demand the highest. And if you don't, there is this. I think that people, you're a low value man if you don't have really high standards. I see so much of this now. I obviously exaggerate slightly. But there's just people forgot the art of mind games and psychology. And what I mean by that is this. I do agree to a certain extent, Twisted Bubba, I'm going to go to some of the comments here, that the free hit is a myth. To an extent, I agree. But it isn't about whether it is or it isn't a myth. Sometimes it's about creating narratives that help your team. And I actually agree with you, Anton, that the best thing we could do to get a result out of this game is try to almost write it off. Yeah, we'll probably lose. Don't expect much. Liverpool have been bad. Just every Man United fan, even if you don't believe it, say it. Because sometimes you can put a certain sort of feeling out there into the ether and it can help. The reason why I think we did well away at Liverpool last year is purely because nobody expected us to do anything other than get a pummeling. And I think Liverpool were a little bit overconfident. Their fans were overconfident. And I think our players took it a little personally. Now, the issue is if you say this out loud, people go, oh, you got no standards. You should be expecting to win or want to win. How dare you think you shouldn't try and win? It's like, oh, you're not understanding it. Sometimes it's about, when I used to go work, sometimes like people go, oh, I've got to get promoted. Well, you got to get promoted. You got to play the game. You got to do a little bit of bootlicking sometimes. Sometimes you got to pretend to really like so-and-so who works in the HR department because she's great friends with the area manager. You got to do these things. But you get those idiots. No, bruv, I'm me all the time, no matter what. Well, that's why you're so angry, because you being you, or the worst version of yourself every minute of every day, you don't make friends and influence people. I think the same thing can work in this. By the way, fantastic book. It's well worth a read. I do look at this in the football space sometimes, and I think sometimes football fans, in the pursuit of grind, and I think it's all for the right reasons, that they want their teams to be great. They sort of push a narrative out there that their players can't handle, and I get the pushback. And I know I haven't read the comments yet, and I bet we get one. Bro, if they can't handle that pressure, they shouldn't be at my club. Yeah, to a certain degree. But that pressure that we were used to as United fans experiencing under Fergie, it took Fergie the better part of a decade to get the club back to a point where they could handle that pressure because it was broken for so long. Fergie didn't arrive. They didn't handle that pressure well when he first turned up. You know, they were really up and down in the league. Now, again, the low IQ response is, are you saying Amorim and Fergie are the same thing? This is not about Amorim. It's actually not about Amorim at all. The point I'm making right now, it's, I think we're going to put so much pressure and expectation on us to win this weekend. I think we're going to get slapped, which is why I am going to say fiction, because I don't think, and it's like I agree with David on. David put this in the comment section. I agree with him wholeheartedly that it would have to be a record, a massive defeat, a 6-7 or an 8-0. I think that could change their mind. But I just got a horrible feeling that all week, Man United fans are going to build the pressure up. The media I think it's going to jump on it too, and the media know what they're doing. And I think it's going to put unsustainable amount of pressure upon these players. We're going to walk out on that pitch, and they are going to fucking crumble like a house of cards in the wind. And it's going to be, I'm sorry to say this for anyone who's open for a Man United win, it is going to be absolutely painful at every single level, because Liverpool, we're not just going to make Liverpool look better than they've looked all season. We are going to breathe life into them, and Liverpool are going on a run after this game.
Please don't, Terry.
They're going on a run.
I'm really enjoying where Liverpool are at right now as a football club.
I blame the manosphere for all their high-value man bullshit. I tell you now, I'm blaming them.
Well, Terry, it's like us in the derby. Like, remember when obviously we lost 2 games out of 3? We're looking crap. And we beat United on unbeaten 7 run. I'm not saying we're back, by the way. I'm not that kind of fan. I'm not doing shamelessness here. I'm going to say it as it is. But
you're spot on. Keep going.
But this is the thing. Sometimes you need a win like that to get yourself going again. But I do think, if United, and being real, if they actually back the manager, I think you probably get a result this weekend. But you're right. I think because United fans are their own worst enemy, this will happen again. You get them sacked, then you get a new one in, and it happens again. It's like a cycle that never stops. Everyone knows what will happen now.
I think this game's going to be absolutely dross, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be stinky. I honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if it was like a 1-1. I think Liverpool don't look that great at the moment. And I think United do get up for these big games. If anyone can slag United off, but they do, in the last few seasons, do get up for the big games, as you said, Liverpool last year. So I do think this is going to be maybe a smash and run from United, but Liverpool have struggled a lot, and defensively, Man United have been decent. De Ligt has had a fantastic season so far. I think it's going to fully depend on that midfield United put out, because obviously Liverpool have a very strong midfield, but even then, when they're going to man pressing, Man United's shape particularly doesn't suit that man-to-man pressing, just because of how unusual their shape is compared to Liverpool's. So I think it might be a bit of a mismatch, and it's one of those games that are always hyped up by Sky and everybody else, and they're always crap. So it's probably going to be crap, and I'm quite happy if it's crap. If it's a 1-1 draw and I have the most boring 90 minutes of my life, I'm taking that all day.
I'd take that result right now. Boring 1-1 draw. Give it to me. It would actually maybe be the only meaningful thing we do this season, which is dent Liverpool's 21 title charge. And at least then we can say we helped stop it, if that makes. And then I'm straight back on loan at Arsenal, cheering you guys on.
Back on loan? That's not how it works here. You can't just come in and come out of the loan. You're here to the end of the season.
I am still on loan, but I'm still, Rashford still wants United to win games. You know what I mean? It's one of the. Excuse me. It's one of those there. Liverpool fan here says it just sounds like an attempt to make United the underdogs. What do you mean, mate?
Wait. They're the favorites? We're just gone from talking about classic Manchester United fan behavior to classic Liverpool fan behavior, where Liverpool fans just cannot deal with the idea that they may or may not actually be the favorites, and they always have to be like, oh, we're the underdog. Oh, leopard in the tree. All this stuff like. In what world is Manchester United away at Anfield the favorite?
Bro.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I do get what he's saying, that derbies are a leveler, but you are so much better than we are. So
yeah,
and the thing is, they are a leveler. But let's just go look through United's peak years and look how often you actually came to Old Trafford and beat us. Rarely. You got the very famous 4-1, but that was the season that you were in the title race. That wasn't in a season where you were fighting for top 4 or fighting for Europe or in the mid-table. You were never that low. It's very, very different. I think if Liverpool do get beat by Man United this weekend, it's a massive, massive upset. This year from Harold says, I believe I truly do in a 3-1 win away at Liverpool.
Hey,
unfortunately, what I would do is what Terry generally does, which is just say as little as possible on this topic. Because I'll give you a really nice a comparison. So we had just come from the international break a month and a bit ago. You guys had just beaten a promotion side at home, Burnley. Then you went away and you saw that Man City were in bad form, and you guys were like, "Oh, we can go away to Man City, get a win." Then you get thumped. Here we are again, back right again, as if you haven't learned your lesson. Just beaten a promotion side at home in Sunderland. Now you've had a 2-week break, and Liverpool are on a pad of form. You're going to go to Anfield and now expect to beat them. Like, I want to be as nice as possible when I say this, but Man City lost to Tottenham. They lost to Brighton. Those teams are better right now than Manchester United. In this scenario, Liverpool lost to Chelsea and they lost to Crystal Palace. And as much as you don't want to hear it, those sides right now are better sides than Manchester United.
Funny,
so you can't make a comparison and put the same exact expectations on. So it's flip side.
No, I agree. When I worked, I used to sell phones once upon a time at Phones for You. Right, I can still do it. Right, it's part of your training. Right, still do it. And I was working in Stockport because I used to live up in Manchester, and I was working in the Stockport. I can't remember what the name of the sort of shopping centre in Stockport's called. I want to call it the Meadow or something like that, but I might have got that wrong. It was a long time ago I worked there. And my boss back then, Lee Wrigley, top bloke, ex-soldier, but he like left the army and he was like doing sales stuff. And he pulled me aside on this Saturday morning and he said, "I don't mean this message towards you. Don't take it personally, but I want to see what the team do. I want to see if we're working with real salespeople." Or his words back then were, "You could speak like this 20 years ago." He went, "Or if we're working with a bunch of babies and bitches." Right? I was like, okay. He went, "So just, I know you're going to kill it today. You always do, but be mindful. This is a bit of a mind game, but I want to see their reaction. So please don't tell anyone." I was like, "All right, cool, Lee, no worries." Basically came out and said, "Guys, there was a competition going on that weekend. All the different big stores in the area competing with each other." And he basically came out and said, "Guys, look, we've got a great chance today. We're in an area where people have good credit. We've got very good foot flow." I put the predictions in. I've predicted us to come in around 3rd. I'm not expecting any more than that because I don't want to put unnecessary pressure on you because I just don't think we're capable of beating those other stores at this moment in time. But kind of good luck. All day, I kept on. Guy Rob I worked with, there's another lad whose name I now forget. I want to say his name was Mitch. They were so focused. And I was like, "What is it? What are you guys on it today?" They went, "I fucking can't believe you ain't got no faith in us. I'm going to show him. I'm going to show him. I'm going to show him." We ended up not just winning that day. It was a record-breaking day for the store. Won the competition. And the bonuses back then that John Caldwell used to give out at Phones for You were amazing. And Lee came out at the end of the day, said, "Thanks, everybody. Blew my socks off. Didn't know you were capable of that. Well done. I'll see you all tomorrow." And we all went out for a few drinks after work, and they're all bitching about Lee. And Lee very rarely came out with us. He used to like this separate relationship between staff and him. And then I was like, "I'm going to tell him." So I did. I was like, "You guys do know." He spoke to me in the morning and said it was all a mind game. He wanted to see if you guys would react to him saying that. And he essentially took the pressure off, put a rocket up your ass, and you guys went out there and smashed it. If he'd have gone out there and said, like, "You need to do it and you've got to deliver," maybe you'd have tried to oversell. Maybe the pressure would have got to you, but it was the other way around. And I've had these experiences in my life at work. I've had these experiences in my own sport. And I sometimes look at it as football fans and I think not everything is just about saying, "Go win, do it now, we need it." That isn't the only way you motivate people. Sometimes you've got to pretend you don't believe in them. Sometimes you've got to tell them it's going to be easy to make them relax. Sometimes you've got to be aggressive or assertive. Sometimes you've got to be really kind and caring. I think that a lot of people have no understanding of what leadership is. And internally, to be a good supporter, I think you've got to pick and choose how you do things. Some footballers might respond well to you calling them a prick. Others, they might make them worse. And if we know that and we learn that as fans, why would we not say something to a player that is going to get the best performance out of them, not what makes us feel better? And I think that's really interesting that, again, I think too many of us are going to put pressure on us to win this weekend, and I think we'll crumble.
Terry,
I think
you remind me of a story from when I was in high school. I had I did psychology in high school because we had this thing called VC. We can pick your subjects for certain things. So our psychology professor or teacher at the time basically said, look, guys, we're supposed to be having a test in 2 weeks, but on the subject. But today we're going to do a practice run of this test. So we're basically going to do a mock test now. For the next 2 hours, you're going to write this essay on, I forgot the subject. This was like 13 years ago. Anyway, we all sat there. We wrote these like amazing, essays and stuff within the 2 hours on the subjects. And then 2 weeks later, we got all the results back, and we all were thinking we're sitting there and doing the test. I was like, okay, ready for the test today? He goes, what do you mean the test? You guys all passed with A+. And the point what he was trying to say is that when you thought that it's not actually a test, that it's a practice run, all of a sudden you're like your performance is just like so much better than if you were like, today we're having a test, and then all of a sudden you're going to be a little bit more nervous. So obviously it was psychology, so it's clearly something he was trying. There's an angle he was playing on that, but it kind of reminds me of that.
Well, it's also why I think a lot of look. Listen, I love Roy Keane. I think he's a fantastic player, but it's why I think he failed as a manager. And you hear it in his punditry. Why can't you do that? I could. It was easy. I think that's one of the reasons why Thierry Henry has struggled as a head coach. Is I think some great footballers, especially, or some people that are very good at what they do. You could be great at banking. You could be a great salesman. You could be a great personal trainer. You could be a great fucking doctor. Doesn't mean you can lead people, because you may be someone that really reacts well to high pressure. Someone I'm someone that responds quite well to someone being in my face in a work environment, in a sporting environment. Even so, like my coach used to get in my face. It spurred me on. But to become that coach, that leader, that boss, you've got to understand that people are motivated by very different things. And if you don't learn to be malleable in that way and agile, you are going to fail as a leader. But as supporters, I think we need to become a little bit more sophisticated. I think Arsenal play better as a team when their fans are more positive. As soon as your fans, you see it in game. And I get that you can't always help how you feel, but when the tensions get up and there's a bit of anxiety in the crowd, your football goes flat. Your energy. There's a reason why your players are always telling your fans to get the energy up, because you play better under it. And I just think there are times where we've all got to learn to be better at doing that. But we'll see what happens this weekend. Look, viewers, give us your thoughts. No, it's not called Meadow. Oh, it was the shopping centre was called Mersey Way. And the phone's view was opposite Oasis. And Oasis was an amazing clothes shop, which again, 21-year-old Terry used to love working in front of, because it was very amazing clothes shops for women. And it was a great place to just, it was amazing. Loved it. It was great. Good old days. In my younger days, it was amazing. Meadow Hall. Yeah, Meadow Hall is in Sheffield. You're right. Meadow Hall is in Sheffield. Yes, I've been there as well before. Let's do some of these comments here. David says, I don't think Sir Jim has the full authority to sack him. I think the Glazers will still step in eventually. Well, they run the footballing operation, but they still have a say. That there is still an element that has to go through them. So, it's very well publicized that Joel Glazer still have to run things by him. But typically, so far since they've been there, he's agreed with whatever decision they've made, because they have delegated the footballing control out. So there is the element of truth to what you're saying. I wanted Rasmus bad at Chelsea and hated that he chose United. He was well worth giving more time. Also, it's 7 matches. Let Ruben fix this mess, is what Ronan, the Chelsea fan, says here. Good morning, panel from Settler, Alberta, Canada. Happy Thanksgiving to my fellow Canadian viewers. The club is rotten and the Glazers are still here. Yes, I know it was yesterday, wasn't it? I believe Canadian Thanksgiving. So yes, happy Thanksgiving to everyone in Canada that is celebrating at this time. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Radcliffe said he ain't sacking him. What's the point of mentioning it? Well, he didn't say he isn't sacking him. No. And I've got to thank, he didn't say that. He was pressed 2 or 3 times, and all he said is that a manager within 3 years has to prove that they're good enough. What I thought he said, based on the quotes, is I'm giving him 3 years to prove he's good enough. It's not what he said. he said, if you actually go watch the interview, you can. For me, Staffy made me go watch it, and Staffy is very anti-Ineos, and he said, he didn't really say I'm giving him 3 years. He said you've got to prove within 3 years you're good enough.
I got a question on that, Sal.
Go on.
Do you think that when Ratcliffe says stuff like this, it's because he understands that there's more going on in the background, that he's trying to get a lot of ducks lined up in a row in the background, and he feels like that the manager is one of it, not really the least of his problems. Like he needs to fix a lot of other stuff, because otherwise sacking the manager and replacing it, whatever, might just screw up whatever he's planning in the background even further. Like, you know what I mean?
No, but I think he would get rid. I do think he would. I do think there is a world where he would sack Ruben Amorim. I do. But one thing I don't think he's going to do, and I make him absolutely right in this, I don't think he's going to come out and say publicly he's got a game left, 2 games left if he gets a bad defeat. That would be wrong to do. And I think we do this a lot because, again, football fans, I know that we all feel that we're entitled to know things. And as much as it's our football club and we support it, well, you know, I bank with Barclays, I bank with HSBC. I'd be disgusted if I don't know, a managing director came out and told me, you know, your bank manager that manages your accounts at the minute, yeah, we're going to sack him soon because he's not very good. There's certain things that I don't care at any level, any sport, I don't want to hear. Equally, people do it with the press conferences. They really hone in on what's said in the press conference. I'm like, bruv, it's PR. It's very generic. People take it far too seriously.
We do the same thing with Arteta. It's just like,
kind of weird, man.
It's sarcastic, Pepper. It's just most times he says what you have to say. That's it. I better care about what's said at all.
I don't even watch press conferences or post-match, pre-match interviews anymore. Maybe sometimes when you're watching the game and they go like, "Oh, Mikel, you know, the game started. What do you think?" Blah blah blah. Like, and I have to kind of watch that. But in general, I switch off from it because mostly it's just words being thrown out because they have to. Like,
yeah, no, I agree. I find it all a bit. Yeah, it's a bit. Oh, I hate that you said that. Some people I hate listening to the press conferences. They always wind me up. I'm like, well, why are you listening to them every week then? It doesn't even make sense. We don't even learn anything. The journalists don't even ask real questions. Then why are you watching it and getting angry? You know they're not going to do it. I do agree with people that it is very prescribed and they don't ask questions where you're going to get answers to things you really care about. So therefore, why are you listening? In fact, they might as well get rid of it. Just release a press statement of who's fit. The only thing I ever really care about in a press conference is
injuries.
Who's fit and who isn't. That's it. You're just not anymore going to get people saying things. And this is the irony of it. Oh, I love that Nuno stood up for himself. Yeah, and he's sacked now. And look at Forest. It's just honestly, it's just nonsense talk. It really is. Moving on from this. We're going to get into a good one here. Fiction or fact? I'm going to go to Seb first on this. Martin's Odegaard injury could be a blessing in disguise. Eze in the cam role with Martinelli or Trossard on the left gives Arsenal more balance.
I find it slightly ironic that now people are going, oh, Martinelli's going to get all this freedom, considering a lot of Arsenal fans are like, they didn't think he was good enough and he should be gone anyway. I don't think it can be ever a blessing for one of your best players to go out injured. I think that's such an absurd thing to think. The first time we saw Eze and Ødegaard start, he unfortunately got injured immediately. And I thought he was fantastic when he came on against Newcastle. So we are going to miss him, in my opinion, because Eze and Ødegaard are very different players. It's not like we're doing a straight swap. Oh, Ødegaard's out injured and then he's getting replaced. They're very different profiles and you want both of them in the squad. You want to mix up. You don't want the opposition to predict what you're going to do. So I think having him out injured is not good. I think if you're being nuanced, you might go, yeah, it's better for Eze because he's now going to get to play in his position he wants to play. So I can see from that, yes, it could be a benefit for Eze in particular, but from an Arsenal fan point of view, no, I don't think so, because I think Ødegaard at this moment in time is better than Eze. I'd rather have Ødegaard starting over Eze in that midfield. I'd rather Eze on the left. But yeah, I don't think it's a good thing, and I just don't get it. It's like Ødegaard a couple of seasons ago, everyone was having conversations with him in the De Bruyne category, and then he has one slightly off year last year, and now all of a sudden people think he's crap. And so I don't think ever having someone of such a high caliber being injured could ever be a good thing, even if it could be a good thing for Eze. I personally am not happy about it at all.
Who wants to go next? Could this be a blessing in disguise?
I'll go next. I mean, considering I'm the other resident gooner in the panel, I agree with what Seb is saying completely. I actually, the Odegaard disrespect for me is, I'm just kind of getting sick of it, to be honest. Like, a blessing in disguise. Look, you could take it one or two ways, because I just think that Arsenal squad right now is so good that we might not miss Odegaard as much as we would have a year ago. But that being said, I would rather have both Odegaard and Eze together on the pitch. I want to have Eze on the left, Saka on the right, Odegaard through the middle, which I still haven't got to see yet. I'm going to have to wait even longer to have to see it. I agree with what Steph said. All of a sudden, we think that Martinelli or Trossard, who we wanted to both get sold in the summer, are now the answer. For me, that opens up another issue for Arsenal to look in the summer. I was talking about this with Cal the other day, which is like, it creates an interesting dichotomy, which now all of a sudden is, we still have an issue on the left-hand side. We still, we have very much have that void there that we thought we filled when we signed Eze. Now that Odegaard is out. So you sign Odegaard, you move Eze away from that space, and now you have that space open again. So I don't know. I don't know if necessarily it's a blessing in disguise. I just think that we haven't really had Odegaard most of the season now anyway. So now we're going to pretend like this longer term injury is more of a blessing than it was the shorter term injuries. Because I just think we're just going to get a lot of the same that we've had so far this season. With the other thing being that the other players around Eze are going to be more used to playing with him at this point, so it may click, but got nothing to do with Odegaard being out.
Well, I think when I was at the Emirates watching the West Ham game and you saw him go down, most of the stadium was like, that's bad, that's terrible, that's not good. So the fan reaction from inside the ground tells me that most Arsenal fans, I would presume, I think it's one of those things again where if you see the headline going, oh, Ødegaard's out injured, that's so good, everyone's going to be like, what? So it starts a discussion. But when you have your best creator injured, people were praising Arsenal's squad depth, and it is good. We have one of the best squad depths, but your squad depth gets worse when you do have injuries, because what happens now if Eze does pick up an injury?
Yeah, Ethan, but...
So it's just like, it's crazy for me. That's like going to, with Manchester City, obviously Rodri was out injured a lot of the time, and I think they've been all right, but it's just like, no one's happy he's going to be out injured. You don't have such a high caliber player and go, oh, super good, he's out injured. United's not going to go, oh, it's really good and Mbuemo's injured because now Mason Mount's been really good this season. He can get some more minutes. It's not how it works. We have so many competitions. I wanted to see them play together. So the fact that he's injured, I cannot see that now. We've only seen it for 20 minutes. That's terrible. It's awful.
The funny thing is that like this season, every single time Odegaard's been out, Arteta's turned to Mikel Merino to start, which have created other problems for Arsenal. So it's like we're all going to be expecting Eze to be great, but then the lineup comes out on Saturday, and it's like Mikel Merino is in the 10. Yeah.
That is what's going to happen, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw something out. I did some content on this earlier on today, and I first saw some gooners sort of tweeting about this, and I was like, it felt like celebrating someone getting injured, and I'm like, no, that's wrong. But then I did have a think about the silver linings, and I looked at I thought about a few things that could help you, and I think it could, how you get through this period with no Odegaard could help you win the league.
Mm-hmm.
And my rationale for that is this: one, there's this kind of how do I say, there is a narrative around Eze not being played in his best position, which is central, and Arteta might even succumb to this in moments of pressure of, oh, who do I pick today? I don't want to go with both him and Odegaard playing a good team. Will he just side with Odegaard and not give Eze the chance? And then if you don't win or if something goes wrong, the pressure mounts, the Arteta outers get on their bandwagon and all of that. And I think it kind of gives you a period. I know you'd rather have him on the bench, and I do agree with that. but Eze is going to get a run in the position that a lot of people wanted to see him in now because of this. I also think where it may help you, and by the way, again, him fit or injured, you guys always pick fit. Him being fit is great. One of the things that I've noticed a little different reading the responses to all the big posts that he's out is the lack of panic from Arsenal fans. And I think if you can get through a period with him out, win most of your games, stay top of the league, I think not only the fans, but the squad coming through that bit of adversity, I think true belief will set in that you can win the league. And that for me is the positive, the silver lining in a bad situation. And again, I hope I don't have to sit here and explain what a silver lining means. It means it's a very grey cloud, but there's a silver lining. And I think there often is. And adversity often creates opportunity, not just for Eze to get more game time, but actually someone on the left like Martinelli, who I think has been brilliant since he's been dropped. It gives him an opportunity to fight harder for his place. When there he might get a little bit of game time. Could he step up and actually have a really good month, 6 weeks, where he's delivering? And you're saying, wow, Odegaard's coming back. And I don't see how he gets into the team right now, as brilliant as he is. So I think there is.
By the way, we're good for Odegaard, by the way, because I find that when Odegaard is out with injuries, like we've had it, this is the third time he's been out with an injury, that Arteta just throws him right back in. It's better for Odegaard when he comes back that he doesn't get thrown right back into the fire, and then we can possibly get him injured again.
No, I hear you. And again, I want to be very, very clear that I'm not stating that it's good that he's injured, but I'm just looking at this and thinking to myself, I think there can be some good that potentially comes out of this. Comes out of it for you. As much as it would be much better to have him fit and in the squad, I just thought of those couple of areas because the Arteta out is the key here. Because the Arteta out don't want you to win the league, by the way. They'll say they do not want you to win the league. They are so invested in being right that Arteta isn't good enough. They're looking for an angle right now, and these men are starving. They're starving, and I think one of their angles that they probably had written down on a notepad. We could start this because they tried to blame your manager for his shoulder injury. They tried to blame him for the MCL injury. But I had this feeling they were going to start this narrative of, he's starting Odegaard too much. He should be on the... It's gone now. It takes a narrative away. And I do think one thing that hinders your club is the kind of internal fighting and the player versus player wars that certain fans create. And I think it removes this and it's only a small period of time. I know it's 9 games, but that's because you're playing 2 games a week as an example. It's actually only sort of 4 weeks of football and he'll be back. It's not like he's missing for 2 or 3 months. But Luke, what are you saying, bro? What's your view on this, mate?
Well, I've never really got this, Odegaard's shit. I've never, he's a very good midfielder. I'm not saying don't Kevin De Bruyne comparison, by the way. I'm not doing that because I'm sort of I've got to see him win leagues and trophies before I start calling him, put him in a Kevin De Bruyne conversation, but that's a different topic. But without Odegaard, I don't think we realise how good he actually is when he plays. I know obviously he's had a lot of criticism in the last couple of years of not being creative enough and not scoring enough. But I think this season, especially when I watched him, he's been a lot better. He is getting better. I think I have more responsibility on him to do it. I watched him in Norway as well. I know he has Højlund up front, best striker in the world. Of course, he's going to be doing really well with him up front. But the fact is, I think Ødegaard, for me, without Ødegaard in your team, you haven't got as one less creative player in your team. And when you're playing like Marino, Rice, as a Mendy midfield, there's no creativity there at all.
Zubimendi, I would argue, is very creative, but
yeah, but you know what I mean. He's good at it, but he's not like what Eze Ødegaard probably you want more out of. But the fact is, we haven't got that outlet of a player like Ødegaard who can run forward with the ball and get the ball towards the attackers. So I think Eze is a good player, but I rate Eze very highly. But there's a lot of pressure on him to actually deliver. Now this is where it starts for him. Now, you have to start obviously proving yourself. Now I'm sure he will. I'm sure, but I'm not sort of saying he won't. But you'd rather have your squad depth. Again, we know it ourselves. Having no Shirky and Marmoush for the last month, or we've got through it. I'd rather them players on the bench. So to give Haaland a rest, bring on Marmoush, bring on Foden who recently. Get on a Shirky to get some game time. Obviously they're back now, which is great for us. A bit more depth to our squad. But squad depth, especially when we get into it now, as you know now, lads, obviously being in UCL and the League Cup and the Premier League a bit more now, it's hard. going for a title race, like you need to have everyone fit as much as possibly can, because when the games start stacking up, the League Cup games start coming in as well, along with the actual Champions League games. That squad depth is huge in going for a title. So it can't be seen as it's a good thing. It's not a good thing. It's a player injured. It's a key player injured, and
very good.
You got Eze in there, but if he gets injured, then what? Like
that's what Seb was saying. Yeah,
a lot of it is about any injury is a bad injury. It is like that's how I look at it. So
I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. And David says here, losing any player to injury is bad news. It's shocking that anybody would celebrate that or feel a squad benefits from it, as mentioned in a previous comment. Look, I think I agree with part of what you're saying. I don't think there's anything wrong in life, having a bad situation, having adversity and saying, right, what benefits could we get out of this? What could we learn from this? How could it improve? For instance, Marcus Rashford at Man United, if it hadn't have been for injuries, he wouldn't have got his chance. And he had some brilliant days and games for us. This has happened before in football. A player gets an opportunity because of injuries and they don't look back. You even look at the youngsters that are currently in the Arsenal team. If it hadn't been for some injuries and for some big signings not working, two things that you would never wish for, they may not have got their openings and their opportunities in the squad as early or at all. And that's the way things go. So one person's misfortune can be another person, can open a door for somebody else. So I don't
one thing I remember though, I'll let you finish. No. The thing is, what Luke was saying earlier, I've actually just been thinking about it. When De Bruyne was out the year that they beat us to the title by 2 points, he was out for a very big period of time. What was the big, like, I was wondering, like, does Foden have the season that he had that year if it wasn't for that spell of injury for De Bruyne? I'm just curious, because I see a little bit of a similarity here.
But it's very true. Yes, it's true, and he may or may not have done. But equally, what I think it did show City is that City knew they could win Premier Leagues without KDB. So when David here says, I wouldn't say celebrate it, but in terms of benefit, it depends on how you react to it. I think one of the things that went wrong for Arsenal last year, and I get they weren't happy with their squad depth, was the media, their rivals, and their own fans. When that Odegaard and Saka injury happened, it was, we're fucked, we're done. And that attitude, you're never winning anything. I don't see that right now. Coming through a spell of a few injuries and maintaining quality and the squad depth being tested and passing that test, I think that can inject a new sense of belief into a team. So again, I don't think any Arsenal fan should celebrate that they're testing it, but it's an opportunity to test it. And I think you're always going to get injuries in a season. It's probably better to get them at this stage for a few weeks than it is.
Look at the fixtures we got coming up, Terry.
Yeah,
we've got. I mean, outside of in the Champions League, we got in the Premier League. We got Fulham, Palace, Brighton, and Burnley and Sunderland. That's before the next international break, which then afterwards we're going to have obviously Spurs and Chelsea and Bayern off the back of that, which what we would want, like Odegaard, potentially Madueke and Havertz all fit when they come back at that point. But at this point, I think Eze actually is probably well built for those types of opponents because he's a little bit more direct than Odegaard. So it's maybe a chance for Arsenal to use a different avenue of breaking down some of these teams by having a player like an Eze who can create stuff on his own in terms of chances. He's a lot more aggressive. He takes shots. Like, for instance, Arsenal's opener against West Ham, a team that we've struggled to break down. We were sitting at 0-0. Eze takes a shot which is deflected, which falls to Rice. That's a different form of creativity. It's a bit more of a, front-footed, aggressive form of creativity, which is rather than the Odegaard, which is like, let's try to move around, let's try to find spaces, let's be careful about taking a shot here because it might mean that they're going to get the possession back, which is sort of the way I felt Arsenal played in games like that. So now we can try a different route now. Like
he's more of a risk taker, isn't he? At the end of the day, he's going to take shots from outside the box. Ødegaard is very resistant from taking shots from outside the box. So if anything, that is this. If you talk about silver linings, that is a silver lining because we got an easier run. Eze can flourish in those games. So, and Ødegaard, people started to get frustrated with Ødegaard is because we kept recycling possession, and Ødegaard would have such high passing success rate and high passes because we did circulate the ball a lot, and Eze's just not going to do that. So if you want to think like that, then that's fine.
And being aggressive leads to what I often like to do the most: win corners.
Yeah. Get that set piece goal percentage up. David also says here that Eze is just a new shiny toy. Once the new toy is no longer new, Odegaard will rise as the OG and be starter, in my opinion.
They'll both start when Odegaard comes back. But yeah.
This here from Sam. Sam says, Terry, but you act like you don't have your own agendas. Well, no, I don't. But I admit that I do have agendas. I have an agenda against the PGMOL, and I continue to fight back against their legal letters to me. I have an agenda about killing our game. As I've called out today, 1/3 of all goals that teams score on average are from set pieces. But we've now entered the realm, because Arsenal get criticised for it, where people are belittling goals from set pieces like they're not important, but it's 1/3 of the goals that teams score. And if a team can suddenly start to score more than 1/3 whilst not reducing their goals elsewhere, then that can only be a benefit to a team. So I do have an agenda when it comes to pushing for the truth in football. For instance, when people say trophies are all that matter, we just know that's a lie. We know that trophies are not all that matter in football, because we saw a lot of people that say that agree that Ange had to be sacked at the end of last season, although he won a trophy. There are gooners that keep saying trophies are all that matter, but they say it has to be one of the big ones. So it isn't just trophies, it's certain trophies. So there are certain things that do have an agenda against. There are things that I don't believe are true in football and that are pushed for social media attention. I think it's fine when it was just considered banter when people said these things, but now the mainstream are pushing it and television pundits are pushing it, and people think that's how football is. Look at the celebration stuff. The way Maresca celebrated that last-minute winner for Chelsea is exactly what should happen in football. The way Jason Cundy, the commentator, celebrated is absolute perfection. And it was correct that it was celebrated and that pundits said, well done.
Is Maresca going to serve a ban for that?
No, he's not going to get a ban.
Wasn't it a red?
But it's not a straight. It's not. I don't think he gets a touchline ban for it. But the point I'm making is that we have seen the same pundits and the same people absolutely ridicule Arsenal for last-minute winners. So yes, I push back against certain teams and I push back against this. Yeah, well, Arsenal can't celebrate it. Why? Well, because they ain't won a major trophy in this amount of time. So we're going to start picking and choosing as and when people can. When was this a thing? My point is, I grew up. I'm 39 years old. For 35 years of my life, this wasn't a thing. I never heard it at school, from my parents, at football matches, by pundits, in newspapers, on TalkSport. The first 8 years of social media, nobody said it. And suddenly it started. My point is, I'm sitting here and I'm like, you can't pull the wool over my eyes. This is a new thing that people have created for agendas. It never existed before in football. If I was an alien that came down from space and somebody went, yes, only teams that have won the Prem or the Champions League in the last 5 years can celebrate last-minute goals, maybe you'd have me believing it. That's the rules of football. But for me, it's never been the case. And if we start extrapolating that nonsense and applying it to all football, does that mean football fans that support League One, League Two, Championship teams, non-league teams can't celebrate anything? Because some of those haven't ever won a top-flight league or Champions League. So, does that mean they should just stop watching? Because even if they get promoted, it isn't one of those things. How far do we go with this nonsense?
Yeah, Terry, I agree.
I do have an agenda. I have an agenda against lies being told in football, so people can run social media fucking narratives, and I'll always push back against it. But at least I admit that I have that agenda. I'm not pretending that I don't.
Stars FC for me is kind of ruined the sports time. I get like you want to be like, you want to win. Obviously, I want City for the league this year. Obviously, you get back after last year's marathon of the season, but you enjoy your wins when you get them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get me wrong, right? I mean, almost got a result at the Emirates, but I thought we'd get back at that. I thought we did pretty well. I mean, we're unlucky, is what it is, but. The fact that we sort of came back from 2 losses out of 3, and I know we're 5th, but we're 3 off top. I'm happy with that. I know we're still in the conversation for it. Yeah, we might not be the favourites, but I don't really care.
Do you know what's really funny as well, Luke? Ty is probably the worst person I've ever witnessed do this.
Ty, oh my God! Did you see the other day the video they had when he was calling him out on some of his stuff he said before? He's like, "I've never called out a referee," and then they have a video of him calling out the referees.
Well, Ty does this thing, and this is but this is where it was meant to be done in fan discourse. It was never meant to be the mainstream media that pushed this as being a real way to analyze football. So, I remember watching a fan cam one where West Ham beat Arsenal, one where Watford beat Arsenal. And some Watford and West Ham fans were giving Ty a bit of stick. And he would turn around and his response would be, how many league titles you got? How many FA Cups you got? And there's an element of, it was funny to watch as fans because we were like, it's a completely irrelevant response to the points being made about the game. But you could see there was this sort of superiority element of, but we're bigger and better than you. You don't talk down to us. But in the cold, hard light of day, it was fans bickering. And that's what we knew it as. Where I've become tired is people are now essentially doing what Ty did in those moments by, why are you celebrating a goal? Oh, we just beat you in a really big Premier League game. Did it win you a trophy?
Yeah.
Did we win a trophy? No.
Yeah.
Well, we've won. When was the last time we won a Premier League? 10 years ago. We won one 2 years ago. Yeah. So why are you celebrating? And then you've got the top level pundits talking like this, the top journalists talking like this, think pieces in Forbes magazine about this stuff. And I'm sitting there and going, what are we doing to this game in front of my eyes? That element of banter, it didn't matter if you were Leyton Orient and you just drew with, when Leyton Orient drew with Arsenal in the FA Cup, okay, my brother ribbed into every gooner they knew their whole lives. It was only a draw because Orient are tiny. Oh, no gooner went back with, yeah, but look how small you are. Most of them took it on the chin. The occasional person did a bit of a pie where they mocked them for being little. Enjoy your cup final. And we all laughed and moved on with our day. We've made that kind of pushback against celebrating a real conversation. And people can't see that if we extrapolate that and apply it to football, you'll kill the passion of the game. So yes, I am going to fight back against that bullshit every single day until I'm blue around the lips, until I'm dead and buried. If I'm covering and talking football as a living, I'm never going to sit here and allow wanky lies about this sport to be told. Things that have never existed that I didn't see for 35 years flat. Even fans that go, I've always had these standards. I'm like, then why did you pick Spurs as a team to support? Even some of the standards I hear from Standard FC that are Arsenal fans are standards that Arsenal have never achieved. How could you have picked a team of that level if you always had those standards? You're a lying piece of shit. You're doing it so you can shit on things now.
The funny thing about Ty, though, is Terry, is that on one hand he'll like turn at a Nottingham Forest fan who will like sing like, oh, you know, where's your European trophy, to get all triggered. But then he would top a conversation with another fan and be like, you guys never won any Champions League. He goes like, well, you never won a Golden Premier League. Like he's always changing sort of.
But I think fans should have one. I think fans should have one-upmanship. I think that should exist. I also expect fans to play down a defeat. You know, what you won. I kind of get all of it from fans, but it's when the mainstream started repeating it, and then those same fans went, "Oh fucking hell! I only meant it as a bit of a shield to deflect from my disappointment of losing a game. I can now start to push this," and people started pushing it. And now what we're seeing is people talking after games where they've won important matches going, yeah, but we ain't won that yet, so I'm not that happy really. And I sit there and think, oh my God, the life being pulled out of our game, you know, celebrate it, enjoy the moment. The journey is an important part of the sport. Even if each season you're not quite where you want to be, there'll come a point where you'll get there, and everything you've been through to get there is like, I hate that Man United are crap, but the one thing I know is that there will be a day where we get back to the top. I'm confident at some point in the rest of my life, we'll get back to the top. And all this pain will taste even sweeter. And I never understood that. There's an old head I used to go Old Trafford with called Baz. Big up Baz. I doubt you're watching. He doesn't have a smartphone and doesn't have a laptop. And still, if he could, he'd still have terrestrial television, right? He was one of those old heads. He's probably in his 80s now as well. And he always said that when we started winning again in the 90s, all that pain of the 70s and the 80s, he said, it dissipated the night we won the Cup Winners' Cup. And he goes, and then it went away that night until when we won the Premier League, it dissipated. And he said that those trophies meant more than the ones I saw us win in the 60s. He said the ones in the 60s were amazing because of the Busby Babes and everything else. He said, but we were always a really good team. He said, then we went through this period in his life of being awful, got relegated, could never maintain a title challenge, were awful. He went, and then we got back to the very peak of our powers, and it lasted. And he just said that having experienced the bad and the good, it made the good feel so much better. And I feel that again, but that's only because you've gone through that journey with your club and you've stood by them. You've criticized them, you've ridiculed them, but you've stood by them. And the one thing, after talking to all these old football fans who are in their 80s now, my dad's 70 odd, no one ever once, not one person, thousands of people I've spoken to about football in my whole life. No one's ever gone, you shouldn't celebrate a goal or a win unless it leads to a trophy. No one's ever said it until the last 5 years. So it's newly invented. And no one's been able to explain why that works and how it works. And the fact that no one else around the world, unless you're on social media, thinks like that. It's mad, and it has to be put
like, for me, it's like people sit here and a lot of people started moaning about atmospheres at football games. You're moaning about an atmosphere at a football game being dead, but you're also moaning that people are celebrating scoring goals. It's like you can't have your cake and eat it. And the standard thing is, Real Madrid fans have like the highest standards of the world. They score a late goal, they're bloody cheering and they're going on about it. So if you are a standard FC and you're trying to follow that, Real Madrid fans do the exact same bloody thing. So you can't have both. So to pick one. Like,
the thing that annoys me the most on this subject, Terry, is that the same people who go like, I don't celebrate wins. If we had lost that game, it's Arteta out. This is disgrace. Blah 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 blah. And so you're allowed to go out and criticize, but you're not allowed to celebrate. So, for instance, let's go to the other side of the scale. Let's say Arsenal go on a 20-game winning run. We get to the 21st game and we lose, and it's like Arteta out. This is not good enough. I'm like, what about the last 20 games we just won in a row?
But that's the whole point of it. It's people. By the way, I had a debate with Positive Dan and LB last Tuesday. If you pay your money to go to a game, unless you're breaking the law, you're allowed to do whatever you want. I agree with that. Yeah. I have a question as to why would you go and be miserable all the time and spend your money to be miserable, unless it's the game where you're winning the trophy, which is only going to be, there's only essentially one for an English team, like Arsenal this year, there's only 4 games of the season where you're ever going to win a trophy. The game to clinch the league, and 3 cup finals. So I don't get why you would go to the other 55, 60 games unless you're not, unless you're not going to celebrate and join in and be happy at the end of it. I really don't understand that. But you are right. If you're not going to celebrate and be happy when you win because you haven't got to the end goal yet, losing your mind and spazzing out at every setback again makes you a hypocrite, because it's the opposite reaction to what you're criticizing. If you can't celebrate a win, you shouldn't be losing your mind to a defeat if you're only waiting until that victory. What I think it's more about is that a lot of people don't want to be seen. There is that shield element, but people don't want to be seen at any point praising a manager, a team, a player that they dislike. I see it a lot on the United stand. Ricky does this a lot when it comes. Sometimes he might praise Bruno, but Bruno can have a really good game. And unless he's prompted into mentioning it, it rarely comes up. Even though he might have actually been the man of the match, but it's like, I'm not going to praise him because I don't like him. And I just don't ever really remember seeing this very much. I had one friend who hated Michael Carrick who was like that. But I just think that people now, the narratives and the agendas people have often supersede genuine analysis. And Ricky, by the way, is a really nice bloke, and I haven't actually met him at the United stand, but I don't get why these agendas run so deep with people. I've never really understood it.
Well, Terry as well, right?
Yeah, go on.
I guarantee, right, that as soon as we lose a game, Pep out will start up again, because it's our fan base.
It's a Pep out. Oh my God, that's crazy. I've never seen those two words put together.
Like, and what it is, right? Isn't the ones that actually go to the games or go to games? It's the ones on social media who do it for likes, who do it for traction. And yeah, it gets them it. But it's like, you're not doing. That's actually how you really think, is it? Because if you really thought that, one bad season after 8 good one before that, it's football. You can't win every year. I'm sorry, right? When does a team win every single bloody year? Doesn't happen, does it? Doesn't happen at all.
Yeah, I understand criticizing Pep because I think he did some things wrong last year.
Yeah.
But wanting him out just doesn't make.
Hey, was there ever a Fergie out brigade back in the day?
There was in the first 5, 6, 7 years that when he was rebuilding the club. I don't remember anybody there was that barren period, sort of 04 to kind of 06, and we won the League Cup in that time where we weren't great. I wish we were that good now. Where there were some murmurings: was he past it? Was he past his best? But there were people. There's a famous sign up saying, I think, thanks, but the Chiragh Fergie, thanks, but no thanks, something along those lines. So he has had it, but not when he was in his pomp and he was winning. Like, what didn't happen is we didn't win the league, win the Champions League, And then we didn't miss out on winning the league title to Chelsea by 1 point. And everyone suddenly, we'd criticize things Fergie got wrong, but nobody was like, he's got to go. And this is why I call out Standards FC as well, because managers and teams could not win trophies or league titles, but we wouldn't necessarily call for them to be sacked when we were highly competitive, because we knew there was a great chance, we'll be back next year, we'll challenge next year. I got why eventually Arsenal fans lost their patience with Wenger, because you stopped challenging and it became a top four race.
Totally different story.
But equally, a lot of the guys that do the Standards FC thing, go back and look at their content when they wanted Wenger out. They didn't care they were winning FA Cups, even though now they'll tell you cups, trophies are all that matter.
All that views.
It's crazy now.
Yeah.
Final question of the night. Final question of the night is fact or fiction. I'm going to go to Luke first on this.
All right.
Jurrien Timber is the best fullback in the Premier League right now.
Oh, that's a good question. See, right, I'm not going to be ashamed to put him. Look, I'll give props to O'Reilly. He's been playing my left back recently for us, but I'm not putting him as the best. He's
O'Reilly.
no, but he's done a very good job. You actually watched the game he's been playing. He's done very, very well there. But I think, barring Doku, which I think he actually had a hard game against, I think Timber's been probably the best right back, I think, in the league. Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of Timber anyway. I think Timber's a good player and a good defender. I think that is actually a probably more fact than play fiction anyway. I just think when you watch other defenders in the league at the moment, apart from maybe him, I can't really recall anyone else really that's really sort of been a stand-up. Maybe Munoz, he's been good, Palace, but apart from that, I'd say, yeah. I mean, I'm sure someone out there I'll probably say I'm wrong about that, but I'll probably say, yeah, it's probably for me it's a Munoz or Timber, but yeah, I probably would say that's more fact than fiction, I think.
But Munoz, who plays for Crystal Palace,
but he's been playing well. I don't know if you watched him. He has been playing very well.
Mm.
So make sure you're hearing the question right. It's fullback. So fullback, left back, right back, the whole caboodle. Is Jurrien Timber the current best in the Premier League, Anton?
The interesting part about it is I don't really see much of a competition for this. Like I've said this on multiple shows. I think the quality of fullback in the Premier League is generally pretty low. I think I gotta say, as an experience, we're talking about Munoz. Jurrien Timber, even before he had that big ACL injury, he was brilliant for Arsenal in that preseason. But since he's come back, he's never put a foot wrong. He's never had a poor game. He's never been properly beaten by any attacker. In fact, I remember that game last year against Liverpool. He came off the pitch with an injury, and Mohamed Salah was basically incredibly quiet throughout the game, and we were winning 2-1. It seemed like we were going to win 2-1 comfortably. Timber pulls up with an injury, he comes off, and all of a sudden, within minutes, Salah pops off and scores the equalizer. Like, that is how good Timber is. He could put any opposition attacker to sleep. He's got no deficiencies in his game. He's good in the attack. He's good in the defense. He is the perfect fullback. And I actually don't think that there is much of a competition at all. Many people would say Reece James, but I just don't think that Reece James is playing enough games on a consistent basis throughout, the last 2-3 years to be considered to have that position. So no, I think it is Timber, and it's by a long stretch too.
Let's not also pretend it was just a free run for Timber. He benched Ben White, who was arguably one of the best right backs in the league. So it's not even like he's.
But I think he's the second best. The second best is on our bench.
We've got like two of the best right backs in the league. Ben White is a fantastic player, and he's not even getting a sniff. He's been absolutely unbelievable. Even going forwards, he's completely comfortable. The balls he plays, because the way Arsenal play, we need a ball playing defender. He inverts perfectly well. He can play out on the right. The partnership he's built up with Saka on the right-hand side as well. I just don't think anyone even touches him there, especially considering how bad most of the right-backs have been this year. Before, it was it was Kyle Walker was the outstanding right-back in the league, and then you have your Reece Jameses. I think the only one that really touches him on the international stage, if you're going up to Europe, I think Hakimi is probably better than him all round. But even when you're going on to Europe, I think Timber this season he's been unbelievable. Honestly, I couldn't think of an upgrade for him at all. Left back wise, even Munoz has been playing right wing back, so it's not even technically the same role really. And when you think of the high profile fullbacks that have come in the league, Frimpong for me hasn't been great. Kirkes has looked a shadow of himself. He's looked absolutely dreadful. Trufer, I think, has been fantastic coming in for Bournemouth, especially taken over from Kirkes. It doesn't look like there's a drop off there at all. So I do think Trufer has probably been good, but even then, Trufer is not a match for Jurrien Timber. I wouldn't swap him for anyone on the planet right now. He's absolutely fantastic. It's sad that Benny Blanco is on the bench, but when you've got a player of his caliber, he pushed, even if you watch for Holland, Van der Ven was playing left back for Holland because they stuck Timber at centre back. So he's even.
You know what? Pedro Porro is a pretty good shout. Like you're talking about Van der Ven. Pedro Porro is a pretty good shout. Like it goes under the radar in terms of the quality.
What about Cucurella? Would you guys?
No, he's too inconsistent. He's too inconsistent. There are games where like even a few years ago, a couple of years back, I remember like we used to go up against Cucurella. I'd love that matchup. Like I think that he's deficient in certain ways. You can get at him, you can get past him. I just think that Timber doesn't have a weakness. He's a lot more controlled and a lot more solid. He's he's like Iron Man.
I'd say one player who's doing well at the moment. I mean, people will probably be surprised I say this name, but if you actually watch the City games that I've this season, you probably understand where I'm coming from. Husnov playing right back. I'm not saying he's the best right back in the league, but if you actually watch him defend, he's a very good defender. And to be fair, I know I'm not putting him in a competition with Timber. You shake your head, but if you don't watch the games, you can't comment. So it's kind of like you got to be able to sort of like understand where I'm coming from.
No, that's what you're talking about. David's comment.
All right, okay, no. But I'm saying as a defender, he's very, very good. If you watch his North play, he's a very good defender. Like he actually got quite better over the game since that Chelsea game when he made his debut. But I think going forward, he's not the best. But again, that's not really his job. He's more of a defensive right back more than a going forward one. But
honestly, who are we even debating with here, though? Because obviously you mentioned Cucurella is there. Who else is there, really?
You've probably got Cucurella. Hang on, Cucurella, Reece James, I think, are in that conversation because of how they're both brilliant. Outside of that, in terms of on Jurrien Timber's level and consistency, I honestly, and a few people are saying Hakimi, the comment is Premier League.
Not yet, Premier League.
Livramento is definitely worth a shout, but I wouldn't say he's as good as Timber. But Livramento has been very, very good. But I can't think of too many fullbacks that I would look at and say consistency, barely gets beaten, often good on the ball. I can't think of too many. You've got Livramento, Cucurella, Reece James.
Nouri's one there as well, but he's been injured during the season, so I can't really say him just yet.
Manus at Palace.
I was saying I like Pedro Porro at Tottenham.
He's been good.
I do.
Even Dorgu we spoke about a couple of years ago, but Dorgu's kind of been overtaken by Spence.
Dorgu's got a long. I think Dorgu's got great potential, but I think he's got a long way to go.
Yeah,
I think Nouri's
there's a depth of them at the moment. Really, like I don't. Like even Cucurella, there was that
Trent last year would have been the obvious, the other one, but he's gone now. So
Trent's the best right back in the world for me. So if Trent was still here, he would definitely be there. But like everyone was like saying, "Oh, Cucurella locked up Saka." It was literally after 5 minutes, it got past him and had 2 successful dribbles against him. So it's like Cucurella didn't lock up Saka whatsoever. And I think Cucurella has a bit of a temperament to him. He can kick out. He does foul a lot. So even if you're looking at a statistical level, Timber has such a higher tackle success rate to Cucurella. Granted, Cucurella, I think, has to do more defending just because Chelsea play a lot more up and down. So you could give that to Cucurella. But I just, the consistency for Timber now is, I think he starts for everyone. He starts for everyone in the league easily. So I think that's the best metric you can have for the best right back.
He also plays left back at an elite level as well.
Yeah. Do you think he would start over Reece James at Chelsea?
Easy. First of all, Reece James won't be fit, so it's not even a conversation.
He's a crop.
Even now, he's injured.
He started for us because they've got a right back, so you get in there. Like left back, got Ignory in that, but right back, yeah, definitely.
He starts
right
for
back.
every team in the league. He starts for most teams in Europe, bar probably PSG.
Yeah.
And even then, PSG can play him on the left-hand side.
David here, who you always agree with on things, Anton, says, I think Cucurella beats Timber in all departments except strength.
I would say so. I mean, I watched Cucurella as well.
Can you elaborate that on David? I want to see dot points. I want to see a full 500-word essay on why you think that, because I don't know how you can think that.
I look at Cucurella, I do, but I don't know. I think he's a bit. Is he the best fullback in the league? I don't know.
I think Cucurella's entering overrated territory, to be honest. I think it is just most people just say he's the best left back in the league, and I don't think it's that clear.
I think
I just don't think even
Euros
his passing accuracy. Granted, Cucurella takes a lot of risks on the ball, and he's allowed that freedom. But it's just like Timber's so safe on the ball. He's even getting a lot of shots off this season because he presses so high up. Granted, we have such a good back line that it allows Timber to express himself a bit more. You've seen from Liverpool how Trent's missed. They're missing him so much, especially before where they had the Wijnaldum's dropping down there to protect Trent in there. So I don't even think it's a debate.
It's not even just that, though. Like when we played Madrid last year, for instance, we took on Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. and Mbappe in that series, right? And I'll include Lewis Skelly in this as well, because I thought Lewis Skelly was brilliant through those two games as well. But the Jurrien Timber shut down Vinny Jr. Vinny Jr. had one goal, I think, that was due to an error from Saliba, and that was it. But in terms of over 180 minutes of play, Jurrien Timber had to completely on lock. And the same has been when he's gone up against Mo Salah. He's also had him on completely on lock. So that's the type of player that Jurrien Timber is. He generally wins the duels, the battles against the greatest wingers in the world.
The thing for me is I think Cucurella probably crosses the ball more, probably creates more opportunities. I think that wouldn't be hard. They both win a lot of possession. They both progress the ball well. But I think there's two areas that I think Timber excels in dramatically over Cucurella. Ball carrying, which I think for the modern day fullback is so important, whether you're on the outside or whether you're inverting. I think he carries the ball maybe not to the same level as some of the top ball carrying midfielders like Declan Rice is, but still a lot. But it's the defensive duels. I think you're looking at someone that's winning anywhere between 15 to 20% more duels. You're looking at someone that, just thinking about when I see them challenging to win the ball defensively, I just feel like Jurrien Timber is winning more of those moments than Cucurella does, considering Cucurella does more defending than Arsenal, than an Arsenal player does. I still think Timber is winning a bigger percentage of those challenges. I think that's just what my eyes tell me, that he's winning more of them.
And in the games where we've had to do more defending,
I think Cucurella is brilliant. I think Cucurella is fantastic, and I do think there's a bit more. There is more creativity in him, but winning, he barely. I think you'd be. I don't know if there is a stat for this, but I think you'd be looking at someone like Timber, who's losing no more than 10 to 15% of his defensive duels. Or I think Cucurella is probably winning just over half. And I think there's a real difference in the two of them. And for me, I am going to judge you as a defender primarily. And I think because that's your job as a fullback. And I just think that for me, Timber edges it. But I don't think there's overall edges it. But defensively, I think he's superior.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, but even in the games that we are defending a lot, for instance, notably the ones like Man City away when we were down to 10 men last year, like Timber is an immovable object when we're playing in those sort of low blocks when we're needing to. So he's very crucial to how Arteta likes to play defensively. And yeah, I don't know if Cucurella was put under that same sort of tasks if he would succeed the same way.
I hear you there. I think Cucurella is shadowed by how he is so unpopular by rival fans. I don't get why people don't like Cucurella. A lot of people think he's
I
annoying.
don't dislike Cucurella. I mean, we're just asking me if you think he's better than Timber.
I'd say best left back league. I'd probably say yeah. Right now, I'd say so. But right back, no. Or best fullback, no. But left back, probably yeah.
That's why what annoys me sometimes about these conversations. When we're talking about who is the best, we're talking about at the top end of the scale. There's only one the best. And if I tell you that your guy is not the best, all of a sudden I'm a hater. Like saying Cucurella is the second best is not hating on Cucurella.
No, I don't disagree. I think that's quite fair, to be honest with you. I think that's quite fair. I don't think you're wrong. I think that people saying Jules won, so someone goes fact check that. So I've just gone on to Squawker. So far this season, just need to make sure I'm putting all the numbers in. So Jules contested. So Jules contested. Jules won by Jurrien Timber 43. Defensive Jules won by Cucurella 28. But that doesn't give you a percentage. I'm looking here.
There's a 15-point gap. And apparently Chelsea defend more. So
okay, hang on. Let me go to here that gives you percentages. So here we go. So defensive duel win percentage. This is this season. Let's put in last season's as well, so we can get a bit more of a because it's been a much smaller sample size. Let's put in last season's as well for both of these guys. So this season, Cucurella's defensive duel win rate is 63%. So a little bit higher than not quite just over 50%. It's a little bit more, 63%. Last season was only 39% successful duel rate.
Fair enough. Improvement.
Timber, he has gone down this year though. Last year was at 93% of his defensive duels he won. This year it has gone down, but it's at 85%. So when I sat there and say over the last 2 years, I barely see him lose a duel, we see that there. The ball carrying element, in terms of, I think that's worked out is in the percentiles of which they sit in here. Where has it gone? Ball carriers. Yeah, I mean, Cucurella is in the 24th percentile. Timber's in, this is a versus all Premier League players, is in the 74th percentile. Considering their defenders, I don't expect them to be in the top. I think the midfielders are going to dominate that area. But on those defensive duels, it's massive. The only area defensively that this season Cucurella has been better in, he's won a lot. He won 67% of his aerial duels compared to 43% of Timber. Last year, though, but last year it was crazy. Last year, Cucurella only won 11% of his aerial duels, where Timber won 82% of them. So
yeah.
Over
here's the other thing, Terry.
He has been superior, and that's how I viewed it. And the stats here are backing it up.
And
Terry, here's the other thing that Timber does that Cucurella definitely does not do. I've ever seen Cucurella play at right back, because Timber can play at left back at the exact same level that he plays at right back. You can put him on either side, and he will perform the exact same output. I've never seen Cucurella play on the right-hand side, so he's one-dimensional.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a very good player. Someone here said, Terry, according to the Premier League website,
yeah, and Zapata says he also plays center half.
Has more tackles, interceptions, and blocks than Timber. But the thing is, having more. If you again, the problem is with the Premier League website for stats on defenders. If I just go to their stats now, and I know this is going to come out this way, so I'm going to go to their website. I'm going to click on statistics. And we're going to go to the defensive statistics for players, right? So we're going to go to the defensive one. So like tackles, so this is teams, but tackles won. Wolves, Palace, Brighton, Leeds, Man United, Everton, Bournemouth are all at the top. All of the better teams are in the bottom half of that league table because they don't have to defend as much. But if we go to the player statistics here, because it's important to look at players. For instance, the goalies that make the most saves are nearly always at the worst clubs. Very, very rarely are Reyes and Donnarumma's forced to make as many saves as a goalkeeper. Most of the time, the guy with the most saves in the league, as in a basic stat, is a relegation team because they get the ball shot at them a lot. So if you put in interceptions, let's put in clearances, and let's just do clearances. You can't do more than one at once. So clearances this year, actually, but I'm not surprised. Van Dijk's right up the top actually for clearances. But Liverpool had to do a lot of clearing this year. But you look at the other players on there. You've got Joachim Andersen, Michael Keane. You've got Pascal Struijk. You've then got Tarkowski. You've got Joe Rodon. You've got Sepp van der Berg. You've got Kilman of West Ham, and you've got Maxim, the Burnley defender. So there is one player in the top 10 who's like from one of the teams that is considered the best in the league in the clearances. Let's go to interceptions as an example. Caicedo is right at the top. Fantastic. But then you've got Tyler Adams. You've got Josh Laurent. Then you've got Hartman. I don't really know who that is. I know he plays for Burnley. James Gardner, Bogle. Then you've got Reece James. Then you've got Romero. Then you've got Noah Sadiki from Sunderland. So again, on that defensive metric, there's a couple from the top teams in there. And then the other one you mentioned was tackles, right? Let's find. Let's find tackles. Why can't total tackles? So Caicedo's up there, which we could get, but Jurrien Timber's actually on that list ahead of. He's in third place. So the Premier League website can't be right this season because I'm on it now and it says he's second. Then you've got Tyrick Mitchell. Then you've got Paulinho. Then Longstaff. Then Bogle. Then Elliot Anderson. Then Gomez. Then Hugo from Wolves. And then Daniel
Hugo Bueno.
Yeah, Bueno. That's one. Hugo Bueno. So again, on the most tackles, you've got a Chelsea and an Arsenal player. Outside of that, all the other players in there are going to be pushing for Europe mid-table or relegation side. So the defensive stats, you nearly always see the mid and bottom half of the tables at the top of it. Yeah. So you've got to be very careful. What you've got to look at, and I can't believe the Premier League haven't done this yet, is you've got to look at the percentage of these things won. So how many duels, how many tackles that they're attempting do they win? Because that gives you a much better metric for how good they are defensively. Because if in a game, Jurrien Timber as only, again, we have to, I don't even have to, if there's a stat here for tackles attempted, because it's just tackles.
Made. The other thing is, Terry, the
fact that he's won 85% of his defensive duels, you might find that he's tried to make 35 tackles and won 25 of them. You might get someone on there that's made 28 tackles, but they've attempted 60. So the total amount they've won, if they're missing almost half or more than half of their tackles, they're not as good as somebody with less total tackles who's attempted less. And I think the stats can be misleading like that.
There's also this route, by the way, because you just think about it as an attacking side. Wouldn't you not rather prefer attack the weaker fullback? So there's a lot of stats that are just missing from there, because a lot of teams are going to go, for instance, for Arsenal, although I wouldn't say that, the other Calafiori side is such a weak fullback. But I would imagine that Calafiori is doing a lot more defending this year than Jurrien Timber, because teams are going to try to attack our left rather than our right. Like in the NFL, for instance, the best cornerbacks, which is probably the best comparison of a position, don't get the ball thrown their way because people are afraid that cornerback is going to make an interception or get a turnover. And they see the other side as more of a side that they're going to go to attack and be more fruitful. So there's also
on Data MB, when you look at the stats, and I'm not surprised that the nearest to Timber this season is Livramento, barring he does more carrying of the ball, better crossing. Progressive passing, possession one, there's a huge difference in that. He's in the Livramento is in the bottom 4 percentile, or in the top 4 percentile, whichever way around you want to look at it, where Timber is in the 70 percentile. So he wins the ball back a lot more, still better in the defensive duels, but closer to him this year than Cucurella. But Livramento is, again, a great shout. And I think for me, in case people are mishearing this, Terry is searching the stats that favor Timber. No, I went and searched the stats that someone told me were on the Premier League website. That's why I went there and I went and had a look. But it's like when you look at goalkeeping stats, you'll always see goalkeepers down on the Premier League website that are in the bottom teams that have more. Oh, they made more saves. Oh, look, he intercepted the ball more. Oh my God, he prevented more goals.
That's not a good thing.
yeah, it's not good. It's not always a good thing. Yeah, no, I agree with you completely.
I was hearing Arsenal fans last year saying that Aaron Ramsdale had more saves than David Raya. I'm like, but Aaron Ramsdale was playing for Southampton.
I don't want Monkey Bed anywhere near the top of it. I want like in the bottom. I mean,
I actually rate goalkeepers more that don't have much to do for 30 minutes and then have to make a good save and make it. The concentration levels are massive. But this is true. United did nearly sign Cucurella, but it wasn't anything to do with his Euros or his. That's actually Poch did that for Spurs. Sorry, for Chelsea. Chelsea were very happy to let Man United get him, but what Poch did is Poch went against the owner's wishes and played him in the League Cup game, so he was cup tied, and Man United pulled out the deal. So he would have become a Man United player. And by the way, he's fantastic. I'd love him to be our left back right now. I think Cucurella is a very, 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 very good player. But if someone said to me right now, you can pick a left back or a right back, I would pick. Yeah, I would if I could only pick. I have to sign a fullback, and it's either Cucurella or Timber. I am going for Timber. I do think he is marginally better. Terry defends Timber more than Luke Shaw and Maz. Listen, don't put Luke Shaw and Mazwari in the same category. I actually think Mazwari is fantastic. I wouldn't say he's the best in the league or anything, but I think he's been an absolutely brilliant signing for Manchester United, and I think we'd be a much, much worse team without him. There's no doubt about that. So let's not start talking a lot of old nonsense when it comes to Mazwari. He's been excellent for Manchester United. One of our better signings in the last 4 or 5 years. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I don't know if this new system actually suits him too well.
I was thinking that. I think he's a better, one thing that I think I would disagree with what Ruben has done over obviously a lot of things he's not done correctly, which is I don't like the formation at all in terms of the players that you have, the personnel that you have. So Mazraoui would be an excellent right back, but you have systems where you're playing Ahmad at right wing back, so you're not necessarily utilizing Mazraoui in his best position. He's become more of a right center back, hasn't he, under Ruben?
Yeah, no, I agree. Boys, listen, it's been a great conversation, a great debate. I want to thank our viewers for tuning in. It means a great deal to us. We're back tomorrow with Straight Facts in the afternoon, reaction to the England game as well in the evening. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to thank our super chatters. I want to thank everyone who's hit the like button. If you haven't hit the like button, get that done before the end of the stream. This is going to redirect you to Hassam's channel, so go and support my brother over there. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we will see you all again. Sorry, what am I doing here? And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye-bye.